So, for those of you who are somehow unaware of the current controversy going around with rugby, here's a brief recap before we get started. So, Isreal Falou has always been an interesting fellow, let's say. He's come out with some statements in the past that have divided people, and this past week he decided to put out an Instagram post stating that all these people should repent, otherwise hell awaits them. This list included liars, adulterers, thieves, and of course, homosexuals. Now, this has annoyed a fair few people, especially the Australian Rugby Union, who are probably thinking to themselves, come on man, we gave you one chance already, you dick, you've blew it. Couldn't you just say this after the World Cup? God's sake. Oh, sorry, I mean, gosh darn it. But anyway, this video isn't going to be me talking about how wrong what he said was and how he's a bad bloke for saying these things, because let's face it, if you're even a halfway decent human being, that's obvious. The reason I want to make this video is just to get into the nitty-gritty of why him saying these things and certain international rugby players agreeing with him is such an issue. So first point is, why is what he said unacceptable and why can't it be defended? So apart from, basic homophobia, it's unacceptable because this person, whether he wants to be / chooses to be or not, is a role model to young people, and in that role he has a responsibility, in my opinion, to not alienate any of his fans by telling them that they're going to hell unless they repent to a God who may not even be their chosen faith. Whoever you're talking about in this scenario, be them homosexual or not, is going to be alienated, and to say something like that about anyone at all isn't right, and in my opinion cannot and should not be defended. Now, when you see a person with views like that are so extreme, people often don't think about how a person comes to have these sort of opinions, so I'm going to give a brief insight into my life to try and explain. So my mother's side of the family is very religious, and having a faith has gotten them through many a trying time and can be a great thing. Like in my early life, I was brought up Catholic, and it gave me a moral code with things like don't steal or murder or respect your mum and dad, and that's all fine. But I believe it's when people don't read between the lines and take everything literally and don't account for human nature that you can have issues with people. An example being an argument I had with a family member about Elton John because I said I love his music. #Eldorado soundtrack is great, and I was met with the response, he's just a gay man. And now I know this person to have a kind heart, but in that moment they were an ignorant prude because they were letting their faith get in the way of being a good bloke and were desensitized to these very harsh views. And that's why I brought that up. People are complicated as hell, and if I have any advice for young people seeing this sort of thing, no, it's okay to be religious, but being religious or not religious does not define you or the people around you. You know what's wrong and right, you know what's hurtful to say and what isn't. Have your own opinions, and don't listen to bigots just because they're good at rugby. Now, Isreal Falou has been everything but outright fired, and he has at the time of this recording appealed his dismissal, and Vunipola, who both liked the post and publicly defended the post, has been given a formal warning by the RFU. Now, I really hope that the Australian Rugby Union will follow through on firing him, not because I wish him individually any ill will, but because it sends the right message that this sort of chat won't be tolerated in rugby, and that this sport that I've talked about endlessly in terms of inclusion can be what it should be, which is a place for anyone from any walk of life to find comfort and fun. But, stranger things have happened, and Vunipola after this incident said he has expressed genuine regret after supporting Isreal Falou's views, and I hope that's true. But I do think people should be wary of the fact that after this all blows over, these two people aren't the only people with these views. They may be the only people with the boldness to speak about this in public, but they aren't the only ones, and it does seem like we're going to have to steer into a direction where players' social medias will be monitored more, and we could be creeping into football robot interview territory, and that's a shame. But if that is the price we pay for making sure kids grow up being able to love a sport and be whatever they want to be without feeling judgment, I think it's worth it. Signed, NGJ. Now come on, let's sing some Elton John. But don't you know, I'm still standing better than I ever did. Looking like a true survivor, I'm feeling like a little kid. I'm still standing after all this time.